listen to a Nick Abbott radio show on LBC Radio, and it's just a muck around. It messes around and he has callers, and I don't know, just it's part of my routine. Now, every now and then, I get a little bit every now and then, wow, make my mind up, or I guess the radio station, decide that something has happened newsworthy enough for him to do a serious show. So he does like a knockabout show on a Friday and a Saturday night, and he does a serious show on a Sunday where he interviews people and talks about the news, serious. But on Friday, Saturday, it's just messing about. I feel like I might have explained it too many times. Over-explained. Did I over-explain? Did I? And it's just been happening more regular, where they've had his muck around shows and had a serious show instead. And now it's getting more regular. It's annoying me. I did it again last night over just some political thing that's happening that he would not normally. That it's just not even. But for me personally, not even particularly interesting. It's just more rehashing of the same old crap. It's just. I kind of look forward to that. Going to bed, 10 o'clock. Sometimes it's a bit later, but I rewind it. So I was in bed by just about 10:30-ish. I just rewinded it to 10 o'clock, and then the news was on. It was kind of talking about peace in the Middle East and all the opposite to that, and I thought, please don't let this mess up the TV or the radio show. And then the newscaster says, and we will have Nick Abbott following this story throughout the night. Now, as far as I'm aware, there is no story. It's just another. It's kind of like I guess it's like a game of darts between two blind people. It's just going to go on and on and on, never ending. And I Special Olympics where they'd have someone throwing the darts for them. Kind of not sure if that really makes sense. I mean, it's amazing that someone would do stuff like that, but I'm just thinking, if you're skiing down a mountain and going in between like flags, but you have to have someone with you to guide you to go between the flags. And then you're not really doing anything, are you? I don't mean in a bad way, just wow, who'd have thought I'd be talking about this? I better shut up. I don't know, it just seems a bit archery. If someone can't see and they're doing archery, first of all, if I was a spectator at an archery contest at the Olympics, I would hide. I would stand behind them. Wow, javelin, that's got to be a really scary one. I think it's amazing, but just I always thought the whole idea of the Olympics was for people to be the best at what they can do, to be the best at, what they are able to do. Not to be the best at what they can't do. I say this because there's not a munchkin. That's not the right word. There's a this a young, well, I don't know if he's young, he's probably not young, Down syndrome lad. He's quite well known. He's like a weight power lifter. He's big, strong. And I think he's like won records and not vinyl records. I mean, I think he's. So that makes sense. Like, okay, if someone he can't compete with the normal sized humans, but for his category, like for me, for example, it would be unfair. That's how I see the Special or Olympics would be. Is, I don't know if they call it the Special Olympics. I think they do, don't they? Basketball for short asses like me. That makes sense as an Olympic sport. Let short people play basketball. How short, I don't know. Because that would be prejudiced. Can't really, And if I was playing against dwarfs, little people, I don't know what the correct term is today. Yesterday it was dwarfs, I think. I wouldn't want to be called a dwarf. Why do they want to be called dwarfs? If they do, it's like, I don't want to be called a midget. Okay. But when we base communication and stuff, if someone says the word midget, they think of someone that's very tiny. So it kind of makes sense to be called a midget. Yeah, but it's used derogatorily. Yeah, it's used to make fun of people. Yeah. As is lots of things. Like a tall person gets called a giant or daddy long legs. They don't like it. Doesn't stop people calling it and that. Tall people don't like being asked what the weather's like up there. They get annoyed. Ginger people don't like being called ginger, I suppose. I don't know. But they're still going to get called ginger. At least at school. And it's not bullying, it's just... But I think it is. There's a degree of bullying. For me, I think there's a certain type of bullying that it doesn't feel like bullying to the kids that are doing it, but to the kid receiving it, it's really annoying. Repetition. It's hearing the same thing over and over and over and over again. I worked in this place. I was a security guard at where was it? It was the new opera house was being built in Covent Garden, London, and that's where I was stationed, and I was a security there. And one of the, I don't know who he was, one of the builders was he was like quite bubbly and very loud and joking around, and he kept calling me Mr. PD File. That was the joke. PD File. But he kept saying it, and he kept saying it, and he kept, like, every day, every time he saw me, "You're right, PD File," and then he'd laugh loudly, like he'd just discovered something, as if for the first time, which I never quite understood. But PD, he kept saying it, and one day I'd had enough, and I just told him. I had a go at him. He never did it again after that. Well, I don't think he did, because I got sacked. But I didn't go back anymore. But other than that, I think he learned his lesson. Yeah, you shouldn't really ever go to your bosses. But I think kids just think about it. Let's say there's 200 kids. One kid might shout out. I think when I was a kid, ginger, copper, was it Duracell? So like copper covered battery, I don't know, gingerbread man, whatever, stuff like that. Now personally, I've always liked ginger girls. Not all ginger girls, but I was attracted. I've dated quite a few It's red. No, it's not red. That goes red's a different colour. Ginger is a specific colour, isn't it? So, and plus I've got the ginger gene. Thankfully, I didn't. I mean, no, what I mean is, I've got the ginger gene. I have genuinely. I've got 3 cousins that got ginger kids, and I've got, I think, at least 2 of my grandmothers. Yeah, one of my grandmother's brothers and one of her sisters was ginger. The sister dyed her hair. And I had a ginger beard when I was younger. And partially ginger hair, like hidden by my dark brown hair. I think it's quite nice that my dark brown hair protected the ginger hair by covering it up and hiding it. I think that's why my cousins have had so many other kids as well. So they've got a lot more other kids, so they can protect the ginger and hide the ginger. I could have had a ginger kid. See, I wouldn't mind. I'm fine. I mean, as long as hair dye exists, it doesn't matter, does it really? I'm only joking. Wow. I do. I like ginger. I had a girlfriend at school with ginger hair. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put it that. One. Okay, off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, no, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. 7 gingers. And that's about the ones that I liked. There was other females that I liked, but I never dated them. There was 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I go back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I even know some of their names. It's ridiculous. When I was working at Churchill, there was a lady there that I really liked. We actually were friends, we got on quite well, but she was a proper handful. A little bit wild at the time, but she had ginger hair. Just trying to think who else. I suppose, I mean, I don't know. I got a friend who he actually trained the Olympic team, was part of the training team, trained the Olympic basketball team, who were in wheelchairs. So that's a sport that makes sense. It's like, okay, everyone's in wheelchairs, it's even. Now, you know what I mean? It's like, there's something that, okay, they couldn't compete with someone. Saying that, actually, you could compete with someone that's really tall. You just bang into their ankles. Those wheelchairs hurt if you get hit by them. Have you ever been attacked by a wheelchair? I have. It's proper. It's aim for your ankles. Oh. That's why I don't ever talk about the Special Olympics. Ever. I think it's amazing. Is it Paralympics? I don't know, what's it called? I forget. I suppose, you know, with the running, someone that loves to run, having someone with them, it's not a cheat, is it? So someone can't see where they're running. That makes sense, because the skill, the actual sport is not about what they can see, it's about what they can do. Like running, or a high jump, or long jump. That's about what you can do. It just, you need to know where the bar is, or you need to know where to jump from. So I understand that makes sense. Archery, you need to be able to, you can't, it makes no sense to me if you can't. Mind you, thinking about it, that's even harder, isn't it? Because if you've got someone guiding you, saying, yeah, left, left, right, right, up, no, up, no, up, 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 you're gonna hit my foot, up. But yeah, so just like, if you've got, I mean, first of all, you've got to be pretty brave, ain't you, to do that job. So it is the kind of job you'd be standing behind them the whole time. Or full body armour. So, I mean, there's obviously skill in how to use a bow. There's skill in that. There's skill in how to hold a bow still. it's something that being able to visually, to have access to your visual faculties is kind of super important when it comes to archery. That's where I was going with the archery thing. With lots of other things, having someone with you to do like a marathon. I mean, to be fair, if I was doing a marathon, I'd want someone with me so I could just moan at them, keep moaning about the marathon and how my feet were hurting, and why am I doing this? What's the point? You know, just moan and like just basically moan about the whole thing. Like, oh, I can't believe how long it take me to prepare for this, and the Olympic people are just so uptight. Not the Olympic, well, yeah, I guess the Olympic people try to raise money for a charity, to raise money doing this marathon, but couldn't find a charity for ginger people. You can't even start a charity for ginger people. They don't allow it. You can't. It's like, okay, what's going on? So I contacted, like, you've got these different charity, well, a main charity organisation in the UK, and I said I'd like to start a charity of my own. They said, well, you do need, I think, 3 different people, because I was going to, just genuine, and you need, like, administrators and stuff, someone to do the finances and all this stuff. And I said, okay, I did have that. I had 2 friends that were willing to do that. One that was very good with money and had worked in a bank, and you know, it was quite high level. I wasn't allowed to be administrator because I'd been bankrupt. Everything kind of went quite. It wasn't a done deal, but it seemed to be okay. So I was speaking to this person on the phone, and they said, "What's a charity? What are you sort of aiming to do?" I said, "Well, raising money for the hopeless." He said, "Well, I mean, everyone should have hope. I don't think you should call it that." I said, "Well, okay, raising money for people that are never going to be able to change, they're stuck with it forever." And she said, "Well, okay, that's not a great title. Your charities, it's not just about raising money, it's also about raising awareness, and it's about building people up, not knocking them down. It's about motivation and positivity, seeing what someone can do, not what they can't do." And I said, "Okay." I said, "So you're telling me I need to have a different name?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "How about nothing they can't do? They can rule the world if they want." And she said, "Well, that's a little bit over the top. It's not quite what I meant." I said, "Well, you make your mind up when you..." She said, "No, that's the different thing." gone in a different direction. Just plus, it's very vague. I mean, saying all can do a charity for people that. I mean, why would they need charity if they rule the world? I thought, okay, that's a good point. She said, "Don't you know who the charity's for?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I'm just trying to be positive." She said, "Well, I just say who it's for, and we'll maybe try and figure a way around, maybe we can rename it something different." I said, "Okay, it's for gingers." She said, "What?" I said, "It's for gingers, charity." It's a charity for gingers. She said, what do you mean? I said, "Do you mean ginger cats?" I said, "Interesting that you say that." She said, "Why?" I said, "We can call a cat Ginger. Cats don't mind being called Ginger. Humans seem to have an issue with that. Never been told off by a cat. Have you?" And she said, "Well, clearly you've never owned a cat, have you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "If you owned a cat, you'd realise that you get told off by cats regularly, constantly getting told off." I said, "Yeah, but specifically, have you ever been told off for calling your cat Ginger?" "No." "Exactly. My cat's not Ginger." I said, "Do you reckon everyone listening knew that line was coming up?" She said, "Yeah, I think so. It was kind of obvious, wasn't it?" I said, "Yeah. I don't know, maybe we spent too long building it up." And she said, "Possibly. But does it really matter?" I said, "I don't know, what do you mean?" She said, "Come on, these recordings are like throwaway, isn't it? You make a recording, some people listen, some don't, and then it's just gone, it's forgotten. Does it really matter?" I said, "Look, I like to think of this as art. It's creativity, and it's it's me being silly sometimes, and just, yeah, I don't like the idea of it just being a throwaway." And she said, "Yeah, but how many people listen again and again to the same recording?" And I answered, "But there's a reason for that." She said, "That's not the answer to the question, is it?" I said, "No, true, but..." I said, "I don't know the answer. But what I will say..." If I could stop yawning, what I will say that there's a reason. And the reason is that I make so many different recordings. So generally, people don't... if I did one recording a month, you'd see you'd get a lot more downloads each individual recording. Or if I did one a week, but the fact is I'm doing them daily, sometimes 2 a day, and I do 6 versions of each recording. I think it's possibly quite difficult to keep track of it all. She said, "It sounds like you've put a lot of effort and thought into this." I said, "Thank you." She said, "It wasn't really a compliment. I'm just said, it sounds like you've forgotten. You've just run out of things to say. She said, to be honest, yeah, I'm a little bit distracted. I said, why? She said, I want my ready break. I said, that is so sad. She said, you're sad. I said, you really, really want your ready break? She said, yeah. I said, do you want me to tell you about ready break? She said, no. I said, go on, can I just tell you something about ready break? She said, no, I don't want to hear it. I said, go on. She said, no. I said, go on, I just want to tell you just something you might find interesting. She said, name one thing that I've found interesting so far. I said, okay, it's been a bit of a boring recording. She said, no, I don't mean this recording. I'm talking about all of your recordings. Name something that's been interesting. And I thought, wow, that's just rude, uncalled for, and rude. That's it really, I think. Just talking absolute beeswax. Is it beeswax people say? Is there any gingers out there? Is there anybody there? I don't mean like in the world, but listening. My Uncle Anthony was ginger, and he was bald. I mean, that's not fair, is it, to have both? Bald and ginger. I mean, that's two afflictions. I think I'm going to have the baldness. I mean, I'm balder than my dad, who's about 700 years old. It's not fair. But I've got ginger skin, though. Like that pink skin. That's what I got. It's the Irish in me. 48% Irish. Let's talk about Ed Sheeran. Now, Ed Sheeran, arguably one of the biggest stars in the world of music. I say arguably because I don't quite know how popular he is in America, but he's huge in this country. Apparently he's worth about 350 million. So the thing is, right, I think it's brilliant for him that, I mean, he is kind of like all I'm going to say is Prince Harry would be proud of him, and Prince Harry's a ginger, isn't he? That's why he started the Special Olympics. It is. Or whatever Olympics he does. Is it Invicta Games or something? Because he knows what it's like to deal with adversity. Being a ginger. girlfriend if he wasn't famous. I mean, might do, but I think he's the only pop star where the teenage girls or his fans put the posters on the wall back to front. What I mean by that is they put it facing the back so you can't see him. It's rude. It's very rude, isn't it? It's like the old joke, isn't it? Who'd win in a fight between Ed Sheeran and a gorilla? Ed Sheeran. Why? Because a gorilla would be too scared to come near him. That's rude. That's a rude joke. It's like 100 Ed Sheerans versus one gorilla. I've already told you, he wouldn't even come near one. What other ginger jokes are there? I'm a ginger myself, so I can do it. I'm allowed to. I'm a semi-ginger. When I say that is there are, or there were, hairs on my body that were ginger, like proper ginger, but a lot of it was hidden. So I won't say any more than that. Do you think if Ed Sheeran dyed his hair like a different colour, he would look human? I don't know. I like Ed Sheeran. It's almost like he's not let it get in his way. He's carried on regardless. I do find that admirable, because his talent is, I mean, you think about it, how superficial society is sometimes, especially when it comes to pop stars. I mean, there's not many, if you look through all the pop stars in history, then there's Ed Sheeran. You know, he stands out because of the quality of his songs, of course. I don't know. How much money would someone have to give you to dye your hair? I wonder what I'd do like with a full ginger. Because I had, all my ginger hairs in my head went grey first. So right at the front and at the sides, that's where my gingers was. And in my beard, it was all over, but very much prominent in my chin and in my moustache kind of area. But that was the real gingery bit. Seriously. Oh, I wish I was younger again. I miss those days. Being ginger. I wonder, is it rules to it, is there? You don't have to get permission to have a ginger baby, do you? Don't know if there's some kind of license you have to buy. Maybe there's a waiting list. Okay. Apparently he's worth 370 million, making him one of the wealthiest people under 40 in the UK. He's had over 90 million monthly listeners on Spotify, the platform's third most followed artist. Wow. I'm just reading. He owns 30 properties in London. Oh, blimey, that's a proper businessman, isn't he? 30 properties in London, and recently purchased an 8.25 million office block in Soho. So he's investing his money. So he will be 30 properties in London. That's a lot. He'll be an absolute billionaire, won't he? Before he's 50. Wow. You know, if you'd invested £10,000, let's say, in OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, in 2023, no, 2022, years ago, it would now be worth 100 grand. In 3 years, you could have turned 10 grand into 100 grand. 100 grand into $1 million. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? 10 million into 100 million. 100 million into $1 billion. That's the best one. But then if you've got 100 million, I might be happy with that. I could probably get by on that. Oh well. I had some weird dreams, but I haven't had time to tell you about them. So I'm going to go. Thank you for listening. Oh, the ready break. I've got deliveries coming. I had to order them on Amazon. Oh man. I don't ask for much, just ready break. For my morning start. So thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye. Also, just remember, when I muck around in these recordings, it's not serious, okay?